A bright light shines at the end of the corridor as someone tries to reach it. Suddenly, the boy glances to the side, eyes wide with shock. Spotting a beast barreling toward him, the wolf lunges, but the boy pulls off a slick dodge, sending the beast crashing into the wall, debris flying everywhere. The creature realizes it missed and goes full-on rage mode. Desperate not to get caught, the protagonist bolts as the animal chases him down. Flashback time. 10 years ago, a massive tunnel from another world popped up in Tokyo. And out of that tunnel, beasts with a nasty virus came crawling out. People got attacked and infected that day, and soon carriers started popping up, bringing secondary infections that wrecked their hosts, leaving over 1 million dead. After that, more tunnels showed up all over Japan, a way smaller, and those without powers had to run for their lives, just like Siki. Even after losing his parents and his sister getting infected, all he can do is sprint. Kaido rushes to his crew with a beast still hot on his tail. While one of them shouts, "Here they come." A boy wonders if that beast is the last one, and another warns Saiki that the finish line is right there. The boy keeps running, his face a mix of panic and determination. With a gleaming axe, Godsuki gets ready to take down the beast. Turns out some folks got special powers after getting refined vaccines from carriers. Without a second thought, the blonde dude charges at the beast with his axe, his power acting like a shield against the carriers. The proto makes a break for it, while the man lands a hit right between the head and torso of the animal, sending strawberry juice everywhere. Feeling victorious, the young man boasts he got the monster good, then grabs the creature's head to snag the crystal. Excited, he shows the stone to the rest of the crew while checking it out. Suddenly, someone calls for Captain God. A woman appears, praising him for the job, then says all the aircraft carriers in the area are toast and that the tunnels have officially vanished. Grinning, the captain says it's time to wrap up the day, adding that having a lure makes everything easier. While Saki Kaido just sits there, embarrassed, the boy can only stare at the floor. We switch scenes where the protagonist is chilling in a chair, eyeing the cash the association sent for the job. The same woman who congratulated them is sitting next to him. He asks if it's over, and she says all results are negative. While the rest of the crew chats away, Siki grumbles about not liking these inspections after the mission. Mizuno then snaps at him, saying he shouldn't say that if he doesn't get the current situation, the proto lowers his head, feeling awkward. Thinking about how he has no immunity against the carrier's virus, which means he can't take the vaccine since even a tiny scratch could be game over. Kaido reflects on how no case like his has been found and how it makes him the perfect bait. Mizuno tries to lighten the mood, saying he's super kind and others find him funny, but that he really needs to chill with that. The proto asks if what he's doing isn't good since peace has returned, and concludes that if he can't be a lure, he doesn't deserve to be called a purifier. Apologizing for making the young woman worry, the girl says that even without special immunity, one day he'll be recognized as a true purifier. But until then, she'll have his back. Blushing at what she just said, she is all shy, and the boy feels awkward. Soon, she untangles herself and says she's off to grab a drink, leaving him solo. The protagonist chuckles himself, thinking it's wild that such a young girl would say that, then tells himself he can't let Mio see him looking so down. Suddenly, the girl appears lying on his lap, and he jumps. He quickly asks how long she's been there, and Mio says she just got there. His sister comments that she never thought her shy brother would vibe with the girl. The hero replies that she's just a colleague. The girl then points out that Mizuna has quite the chest, leaving Kaido blushing hard. The pro asks if she can walk, and she questions if he finished the job as a purifier. C then says he made sure to handle the chargers, making his sister smile, but suddenly she starts coughing weirdly, causing the boy to rush over to help her. Mayo says she's fine, and that having a brother who's a hero of justice makes her super proud. Our boy is totally taken aback by her words and asks her to hang tight just a bit longer until he finds cure. The young woman nods, but tells her brother not to overdo it. After a while, the protagonist waves goodbye to Mio in the hallways, then gets a buzz from the watch on his wrist, saying another tunnel just popped up. We see that the tunnel opened right in front of the hospital, leaving everyone inside the building totally shook. The team captain says 2 bears in one day is way too much, but since they're all here, he'll call it a lucky break. The group of purifiers waits for the bearers, wondering if they'll come from the same tunnel as before. Suddenly, 2 massive beasts burst out from the spot. God grins hyped by the challenge and gets ready. One of the animals creeps closer, looking fierce, but the dude swings his axe, sending strawberry juice flying everywhere. Someone yells that this is what they expect from God. The captain notices something's off with the axe, realizing it's totally worn out. And while one of the guys asks what's up, the creature lunges at him. He screams in panic, asking if the leader didn't take that thing out. Red juice starts gushing as the young man calls out God's name. One of the boys begs for help, but God says the kid's already toast. God, eyes locked on the beasts, wonders what the heck is going on and why his hit didn't land. Suddenly, another team member tells the captain to look ahead because something wild is happening near the creatures. Out of nowhere, the boy who got attacked wakes up. Everyone around is frozen in shock and fear. The boy's body floats and turns its head towards them, showing he's not human anymore. As he lunges at God, the blonde dude jumps back and yells for the humanoid to back off, then chucks the axe at him. The beast goes flying. Everyone screams, asking what's going down, but God can't explain. Thinking, he says that when someone gets hit by a bearer, they either get eaten alive or turn to dust. The human beast charges back, and with it, the dogs and monsters start taking lives. God's eyes widen in horror, and he bolts out, shouting that no one warned him about this. They rush into the hospital, zooming past people. The protagonist sees everyone rushing and asks if it's over. Hearing the boy's voice, the captain's face changes and says his job was to be the bait. Siki steps back, freaked out, and asks what's going on. Suddenly, the glass door shatters and the beasts storm in. The infected animals and humans charge at him, and two others. When the protagonist turns to see what's happening, he realizes that among the beasts, there are humans attacking other humans. God shoves the protagonist to the ground, and when he looks back, he sees the team has bailed. In the chaos, his eyes fill with dread as he remembers Mio, who's chilling inside one of the hospital rooms. Nervous, he grits his teeth and yells for the infected humans to follow him. One of the beasts bolts after him while the protagonist takes off. We see that all the creatures are now focused on him, who grabs a crutch and tosses it behind, hitting some of the infected humans. One of them trips over the crutch, and all those behind fall like dominoes. Kaido stops for a sec, and we see a woman watching him while licking her lips. Looking to the side, Kaido spots an infected person chasing a woman with a baby. Without thinking, the protagonist punches the monster, but the bearer gets back up and he tells the woman to run. Sticky glances back to see if the woman's safe. That's when an infected person bites his arm, and several others charge at him. He tries to run but gets pulled back while being attacked. Tossed to the ground, the protagonist remembers his past, when he was the bait and when Mayo was just a little kid. Realizing he has to find the cure before he kicks the bucket. Suddenly, the watch on his wrist vibrates, and a rift opens in the ceiling of the hospital. He checks the watch and sees the contamination index is 10,290, which totally blows his mind. Suddenly, a woman steps out of the portal holding a massive and gorgeous scythe. The hero stands there stunned, not knowing what to do. The creature then delivers a single blow. Kaido closes his eyes, not knowing what's coming. Red juice splatters everywhere. After a few minutes, the proto opens one eye and realizes that all hosts have kicked the bucket. Siki turns his head back to make sure no one is left. Suddenly, a voice says it never cared about the human world, but this encounter is kind of cool. The girl smirks and says it'd be a waste to let him kick the bucket gear. She floats above the side's handle, looking all ominous. Wounded, the prow can't even muster a word. While the woman eagerly asks him to be her new buddy behind the prow, an infected and a beast creep closer. The girl calls him over, waving her finger. Still unsure, he stays glued to the ground. And glancing back, the protagonist sees the infected getting wrecked by something popping up from ground. The stranger then says that something weak was trying to snag her snack, referring to the beasts and the infected she just sent to their doom. Making another gesture with her hand, the unknown one controls the spears that dig deeper into the victims. The Pernuno watches everything from his spot on the ground. And then with one more gesture, the bearer wraps it up, leaving the infected looking like two colanders surrounded by a pool of strawberry juice. She just stands there totally clueless while the girl flexes her power, bragging. She then says this isn't the best spot for a chat, deciding to use her power to snag the boy, who starts floating while the creature eyes him. He looks at her totally speechless. Suddenly, the girl licks his injured face, suggesting they find a private spot so she can infect him. Astonished, our protagonist tries to wrap his head around that. Suddenly, they're no longer in the hospital, but chilling on top of the building. Freaked out, our boy checks his wounds and realizes he's totally healed. The stranger appears as just ahead, saying the infection is complete, giving him the creeps, introducing herself as Moritia, claiming he can just call her aunt. Desperate, he screams, asking if he's going to kick the bucket because of the infection. The girl tells him to chill and says she wouldn't let such a tasty meal die so easily. Kaido asks if she's a carrier, and she asks if that's what humans call them. She questions if he's okay since he got infected by some lame carriers. The proto remembers he was super hurt, explaining and says she's a superior being and is controlling the virus inside him. Styo's eyes widen. Shocked, he asks if that's really a thing and begs the woman to help him with his sister who got infected 5 years ago and has been stuck in a hospital since. The girl asks for the prow's name, and he quickly introduces himself. Ant then says she can't grant his wish, explaining next that she spread her roots throughout his body, and now they're one. Seek says he wants to switch places with Mayo, but Ant says she won't do that, claiming she only wants to vibe with him, and he'd be toast if she left. Hearing this leaves the proto shook. Then he asks what she wants from him. The girl replies that she wants to snack on him and to avoid offing him. She says she'll take it slow because she doesn't munch as much as other carriers and therefore won't mess with his routine. Finally, and asks Kaido not to stress as it messes with the flavor, and he concludes he's basically a walking buffet. Meanwhile, God is yelling at someone on the phone about how ridiculous it is to be demoted. At the end of the hospital corridor, 3 boys from his team eavesdrop, also fuming, and comment on how they let 30 people bite the dust, and a carrier stroll and asking next how a loader just managed. Suddenly, the captain storms in super mad, asking if Siki made contact. One of the boys replies that he said he'd chill and then regroup. The blonde mutters that he doubts he'll show up, announcing next that the loader's flooded because of him and therefore he has to take the heat. Freaked out, the other boy is just not along, while the man rips into the prow about his ranking and says he never wants to see him again. Suddenly, he looks back and spots Kaido's sister in the hospital corridor. Thinking of the boy as a brat, he keeps watching him. Suddenly, his face twists into a cruel grin. In another part of the hospital, the protagonist and Moritia float down together, and she asks where he's headed. The same one replies that he has questions to ask, but needs to see Mio. The woman makes a disgusted face, asking what his deal is. The protagonist stops in his tracks and says that his parents die because of carriers, and now she expects him to chill with one. Ta responds that it wasn't her fault, and that he's aiming his anger at the wrong target. Shouting, the hero says that she's the same type, but Tia says this could be a major chance for him and asks if he remembers that attack he went through. The protagonist nods. The woman then drops the bomb that the virus boosts physical abilities like crazy, but there's a catch. They keep attacking until they're totally wrecked. The protagonist thinks that's messed up, but then the girl leans in and whispers that he's special because he'll stay himself while getting insane strength. Then she hints that there's way more he doesn't know yet. A transformation kicks in, and the boy's freaked out trying to see what's happening. Suddenly, his arm morphs into a clawed beast arm, straight up wolf vibes. He screams, totally losing it. Swinging his arm, he wrecks the wall, letting his aura explode everywhere. Tia then says the stronger the bond, the more power he'll pack, and that this is the power he's been craving since now he can take down carriers. Seek wide-eyed asks if this is for real. The girl glances at him, and her aura flares back to life on her arm. Cater spots someone coming up. 2 boys roll up on the protagonist, and one of them says he finally tracked him down. Caught off guard, the protagonist asks what they're doing there. One of them grins and says he just wanted to say goodbye while Kaido hides his arm. Another boy, looking suspicious, says after the chaos he caused, he can't cover for him anymore. The young man asks if they're really going to pin everything on him, while one of them says that's not how you talk. Then he claims are just making good use of a useless burden like him. Grinding his teeth, the protagonist says there's no way he's down with that. With a serious look, the boy says he thinks he should ask his sister. Tech's eyes darken at this. He asks what the young man means by that. One of them mocks, saying, God must have scared the girl, and she's probably crying now. Calmly, the protagonist strides forward, but one of the boys blocks him, saying, they're not done talking yet. With a fierce tone, Kaido tells him to move. The boy snaps back, asking who he thinks he is, but Kaido throws a punch with his transformed arm. The guy goes flying, strawberry juice spraying everywhere. He crashes into a wall and drops to the ground totally out cold. The scene leaves the other 2 boys shook. The protagonist then says he'll only say this one more time. Get out his way. He locks eyes with the remaining boys who are staring back at him. One of the boys says his name, but gets a punch instead. The friend barely sees it coming while Kaido takes him down. Now he's got a bruised face and missing teeth. The last one tries to choke Siki, calling him a punk, but the protagonist's transformed hand grabs his head. He notices the boy's eyes are also glowing red. With a massive slam, our boy slams him to the ground and bolts out of there, leaving him all messed up. Kaido kicks open the door to his sister's room and realizes it's empty. The bed's all made. Suddenly, his phone buzzes in his pocket. As he pulls it out, he thinks it's weird someone's calling at this hour, but when he answers, it's Mizuno. She's throwing around words like captain and his sister, but can't get it out, just telling him to stay out of it. Then she says MO is at the exit near the second parking lot, and they'll need the cops. With the call ended, the protagonist mumbles what she said about the spot. Outside, Godin is carrying Siki's sister with one hand while Mizuno tries to pull him back. She asks if he doesn't get what he's doing and warns that this is a kidnapping. The captain yells at her to shut it while tossing her aside. The girl hits the ground, knocked out cold. The blonde keeps walking, muttering for no one to mess with him. Then he gets back to his mission. Playing Mayo inside the car, he claims that if he takes the brat to HQ, Siki will have to follow too, and that way he can make him take the blame. Suddenly, the windows of one of the rooms explode, and Kaido jumps from the floor. The glass rains down on the car, causing God to look up curious. Suddenly, the proto drops in still with those red eyes. The blonde stares at him, totally shocked, while our boy grips the collar of his shirt, then tossing the dude out of the car with all his might and sending him flying like a paper airplane. Tia says his strength is off the charts and that it's no surprise coming from someone she's infected. Zeke spots his sister in the back seat, totally out cold. He glances over and sees Mizuno also knocked out on the floor. The blonde rolls back in and calls him a total loser, claiming he's just an awkward piece of junk. The boy notices some weird stuff on the man's face and Tia says he's infected and about to become a snack. His arm was bitten and looked like a tomato. Kaido asks her if the dude got bitten. Gon, with his face peeling like a bad sunburn, says he's going to end him and charges at the proto, who dodges the attack not once, but a bunch of times. The prow yells, asking if he's really serious about wanting to take him out. The former captain says that's exactly the plan and raises his axe to swing. But as he tries to hit him, the protagonist steps in and puts his hand under the axe, pushing the weapon away with all his strength, then asking if he did something so bad that God had to drag his sister into this. He grits his teeth while asking, and the blonde says he doesn't care about grudges. Stecky's eyes go dark. The litter says that messing with the kid and taking him out is just stress relief, and that he wishes he could have seen Mio's face when he told her about his brother's job, which puts him on the edge every day. Yet, he doesn't complain and works hard, all for loving her so much, who's just a useless burden sucking up medicine. The protagonist grips the axe even tighter while God starts talking about the weather, getting ready to kick him. Hurling Kaido away with all his might, the young man gets tossed, but stays on his feet. The blonde charges with all his strength, shouting for him to just die, and raises his axe. But when he gets close, he realizes his axe is now corroded and falling apart, literally. The dude stares in disbelief. One of Psyche's eyes is red, and he seems to not fully grasp the power he's feeling. Suddenly, the former captain, unarmed and out of options, looks at the boy, who clenches his fist and gets ready to attack, landing a punch in the dude's stomach with major force, causing him to spit out strawberry juice and scream in pain. With the impact, God gets sent flying back, but keeps mocking the prow, only to be interrupted by another hit that sends him even further away, spitting through the air. Tia says that looks painful. After crashing hard against the car, the blonde seems to go out cold. Senki and walks towards the car, where his sister is, while the man stays meters behind him. Suddenly, Goner wakes up screaming and furious, making the proto glance to the side, realizing next that his opponent is transforming into something wild. In the blink of an eye, the dude becomes a massive, all-red, deformed beast. The monster tries to punch the protagonist, who defends himself with his arm. Seiki is shocked by the creature's comeback as it gets thrown away, landing on his feet. We see the boy's sister again, still inside the car, who's in danger now that God has transformed. Tia pops up next to the prow and says that now the blonde is a feed, asking what he'll do. Suddenly, the creature spots in the car. Kyo raises his hand from afar, takes off his glasses, and tosses them on the ground. Runs his hand through his hair and says that the dude hurt Mio. The beast turns and glares at him. Suddenly, a pink mana bursts from the protagonist's arm, solidifying into a scythe. Tia smiles, totally vibing with the scene. Kaido grabs the handle of the scythe and says that if it's to protect his sister, he'll hunt anyone down. Standing with his scythe, Siki faces the creature with red eyes that starts screaming as it charges forward. The red-haired girl shows up and says she wants to see what the proto can do. In the blink of an eye, the monster gets super close to the boy. Our boy looks up, showing he's not scared of anything. Without hesitation, the creature swings its fist. To defend himself, Kaido spins his sight at high speed, causing the monster to lose a hand. Appearing behind the creature, the proto shows he's got some serious moves. Angrel, the red monster roars again and attacks for round 2. But our boy dodges quickly, starting an epic exchange of blows. The red-haired girl pops up again and says that feeds feel no pain and keep attacking until they're totally done. Seiki says that in that case, he'll keep striking until it happens, running. He delivers another epic attack that sends the massive beast flying back. Turns out what fueled our hero was his memories of getting wrecked by the big blonde dude. With the scythe gripped tight, he lands a killer blow, saying that the man did a lot for him. The monster is finally toast and can't attack anymore because it's been turned into ground beef. Our boy strolls away feeling pretty proud of himself. In the hospital, Mayo finally opens her eyes and comes face to face with her brother who's stoked to see her awake. Sticky asks how she's feeling since she looks totally fine, and she says she's good. Then she spills that the one who made her faint was the boy who saved her. Our boy nods and says it was Mizuno who gave him the heads up. Curious, Mayo asks if he means the girl with a massive chest. When he confirms, she says the proto should totally thank her later. Suddenly, her face goes from chill to freaked out as she remembers the blonde guy. She then says he mentioned something, and the Prow asks if she's talking about Goto Ratsuki. Realizing she is based on how Maya reacts to the name. Seiki says that dude was infected by a new type of carrier and was totally out of it. That's why everything he said was just wild. Surprised, Mayo screams, asking if that means he wasn't in danger because of her, leaving our boy pretty shocked. With tears in her eyes, Emo says he only got hurt because he loves her. Disagreeing, the Prow tells his sister not to be silly since he has an incredibly strong older brother. With wide eyes, the girl says he really does seem different, and the proto agrees. Outside the hospital, we see two guys chatting, looking at everything from the window. Kaido says that with all the chaos, things are going to be wild for a bit. So he's heading home, smiling, and Mio says, that's cool. Then, she asks the boy to take care of himself. We're taken to the Prow's house where he barely arrives and already has company. Turning to the red-haired girl, he says they need to figure things out first, referring to when he took down Goto Ratsuki, but his train of thought is interrupted by Aunt San, who chose that moment to transform. Smiling, she says that carriers are clusters of viruses, and if they're high class, they can change their looks. But what's most important is for Kaido to say if that's what he's into. Seeing the pro's face, the woman asks him to keep going, trying to stay focused. Our boy asks if he could use that power solo, because he's the host of the red-haired girl. She says yes, since feeds are stronger than regular humans, and in his case his abilities got a boost. Kaido then asks if that means he can fight against the aircraft carriers even without any special powers like other purifiers. San says that the virus inside him, which is keeping the infection in check, works on the same vibe. Happy the Prawn says he gets it. The girl then says that still he's pretty weak and can't even fully tap into his power. After all, she only gave a tiny bite. But if their bond deepens, he'll get stronger. But with that, he'll also live less. The PRA says that's definitely a problem, but S assures him she won't push him because she'd love to stick around for a long time. Embarrassed, Siki says they need to keep all of this on the down low because if anyone finds out he's chilling with a carrier, it's game over, which means they also need to steer clear of Hyle purifiers. San says she'd never lose to a human, but agrees to do this just to keep him safe. Kaido is pumped to hear that, but the young woman stands up and he says that maybe the boy just wants to keep her a secret to have her all to himself. Desperate, the protagonist says it's nothing like that, but Sam claims he seems pretty confused, ending any chance for our boy to argue. Elsewhere, we see a drone that looks like it's spying. Suddenly, a loud crash goes down, and we find out it was caused by a massive dinosaur. Freaked out, a guy in armor tells the others that they need to hold the line, but another soldier insists that they won't be able to hold for long. Suddenly, a plane appears in the sky. Inside, a voice warns the boy that they're getting close to the target's airspace, then starts a countdown. On the ground, the dinosaur keeps attacking without mercy. Screaming, the soldiers panic, saying, at this rate, the monster is going to break through while calling for Tano. Suddenly, something drops from the sky. It's the kid from the plane, and as he descends, he's gearing up to land a massive hit, aiming straight at the red dinosaur. The creature senses something coming, but it's too late. A huge explosion of blue lightning lights up the scene, leaving all the soldiers completely stunned. Emerging from the dust, the hero declares he's just added another legend to his epic saga. Turns out this is Tino Yussi, the first-class purifier, and he's only 21. All the warriors cheer, hyped to be saved. Grinning, the boy chats with someone asking if he's ready for another mission because a new type of transporter has popped up, infecting humans and turning everyone super violent. Plus, there's a key witness left behind. With a sly smile, Ter says the situation is serious enough for them to call him in, which just makes everything even more interesting. The next morning, Kaido checks his bank account and realizes he's only got 623 yen. He flops on the floor, screaming that he's broke and he needs a new gave ASAP. Sitting in a chair, Sun asked why he still needs the association's help if he can take down the bearer solo. Rubbing his head, our boy explains that the shards are the main cash flow for the association. Without them, trading the purifiers or keeping the peace would be impossible. That's why he can't just hoard everything. The red-haired girl says it's all super complicated. Standing up, the protagonist says the shards, aka the heart of a bearer, can suppress the virus. Acting like a remedy for the infected mean they're Mayo's lifeline, which means later on he might not have a choice, then points out that right now the boy can't even buy food, and that alone counts as an emergency. Picking up his phone, the protagonist sees a message from the Purifier Association notifying him about the skills assessment. Coming up, our boy gets ready and heads out thinking he wonders if Mizuno will show up and figures her injuries must still be healing. Suddenly Sam pops up and asks what kind of event this is. Explaining, the protagonist says it's an annual skills assessment run by the district simulating real combat. So, the ranking is based on actual achievements and the results of the assessment. We find out that in the Purifier ranking system, there are 5 classes which decide the mission rewards. Sen asks what KO's ranking is. He says it's GTHC last. The girl then questions if he's such a weakling that he can't even make the 5th class, making the protagonist a bit annoyed. As Seki walks by, other boys laugh at him for being in the 6th class and showing up for the assessment. One of the guys jokes that he heard a protagonist is good as bait, and they might be testing how fast he can run away. S asks if they shouldn't take out the boys, but Kaido says that would be way too extreme. And since he doesn't want to draw unnecessary attention, they'll hold back during the assessment. On the racetrack, someone gives the signal while another dude calls the next participants. The annoying guy from before strolls up and says he'll have to run with the 6th class, asking why Seki isn't using body enhancement through special immunity. Laughing, he says he forgot the boy doesn't have immunity and apologizes, making his buddies crack up too. Positioning himself, the bully says he'll show how it's done, then decides this is the perfect moment to trash talk about Mayo. Claiming that the protagonist, besides being talentless, has his own family as a burden, and it'd be way better if the girl just kicked the bucket soon. To ease the boy's side, Kaido stays silent as the guy gets ready to start. Still talking to himself, the idiot says he'll be waiting for the prow at the finish line. But when a shot goes off, Seki just takes off, leaving everyone else in the dust. Because he decided to accept San's help, even if it draws attention. After gaining speed, he leaps over a massive ramp. While his classmates stand there, jaws dropped, unable to even keep up with him. Smiling, the blonde girl says she thought he'd hold back. Furious, our boy says plans changed, and now he's going to make everyone eat his dust. We see Tao UCI watching the race from a distance, while the proto keeps running and jumping nonstop, zooming through tunnels that weave between the trees, shouting. One of the boys yells at the young man needs to chill in this part since it's the trickiest section of the course with supports spaced 3m apart. Focusing all his power in his legs, Kaido proves he will need to slow down, leaving the competitors totally shook. Our boy makes it to the other side without even tripping once, and crosses the finish line while the crowd goes wild for him. Another competitor runs up, shouting that the proto cheated and his weight vest is fake. Kaido, keeping it real, tosses his vest to the dude, who realizes it's actually super heavy. So heavy it makes him face. Our boy moves on to the next stage, thinking that special immunity gives him a boost. But honestly, he doesn't care. With all his might, Seki swings the hammer to hit the target, sending the score indicator flying in the whole structure, exploding into the air. Next up, we're in the target shooting zone, where competitors got to hit the wooden figures line up ahead. With one throw, our boy obliterates the figure that stood for the monster, leaving some people shocked and others fuming. Non-phased, he keeps throwing, but accidentally nails a crucial pillar of a giant structure, which starts to come crashing down. The boys nearby start screaming while Kaido just stands there totally unfazed. Sam praises the Prona for his epic throws while the other competitors call him a monster. Suddenly, something catches the red-haired girl's eye, and it grabs our boy's attention, too. In the sky, a massive flash and blue lightning appear. And out of nowhere, a giant sword plummets for the prow, who barely catches it. Standing on his own sword, Tino asks how he reacted so fast. Shocked, our boy realizes he's face-to-face with a first-class purifier, and everyone watching goes wild for the hero's entrance. Tino calls out the pro's name, showing he knows him, and says the boy has definitely caught his interest. So, since they're on a special stage, he wants to throw down right there. The hero jumps off his sword and lands on the ground. Taking his weapon from Seek's hands, he asks if the boy knows him. Dumbfounded, our boy thinks there's no way he wouldn't know him since he's a huge fan of the Purifier and even has some sick merch. Turns out only 7 out of every 10,000 people are Purifiers, and this dude's a first class among them with skills so insane he could level a mountain with one hit. Tino also holds the record for the highest subjugation, basically a human nuke and a total favor to the gods. Kaido feels super awkward hearing all this from the Purifier himself. The hero says the proto should feel honored, but our boy disagrees, claiming that fighting a first-class Purifier is impossible. Not worried, the blue-haired boy pulls a tiny sword from his big sword, saying he doesn't plan to take a 6th-class opponent seriously. With wide eyes, The prow is left speechless while Sam wonders what the heck Tina will do. Then saying this is boring, Seiki thinks it's actually fair. But looking ahead, he feels a crazy pressure and starts to rethink his last statement. With a dark grin, the hero asks if the boy is just going to stand there unarmed. Freaked out, the proto rushes to the weapons and grabs a sword, saying he's ready to go. Releasing lightning nonstop, Tino declares it's time to start, charging forward with everything right after. Seiki manages to block the hit while the other competitors bolt in fear of being next. Taking action, our boy decides to run too. Irritated, the hero says he's not playing tag with him, then launching another attack at lightning speed. The protagonist's sword shatters in half, forcing him to be quick and grab another. His plan works, and he swiftly pulls out another weapon while keeping a determined look. Smiling, Tingum says the guy has good eyes and decent reflexes, but he can't just keep running. That's not how you make it fun. Trying to withstand the endless blows, Kaido asks what the point of this battle is. Shouting, the hero says he already said he's curious. Confused, our boy wonders why they can't just chat, but the guy insists that words are useless and that if they cross swords, he'll catch him. Not getting any of this, Sei asks what the heck is going on and finally manages to swing his sword, but the hero just stops it with 2 fingers. No squit. He says Sei's attacks are way too light, so he should probably step it up a notch. The protagonist gets tossed back like he's a feather, but somehow stays on his feet. Thinking hard, he realizes Tina was on a whole different level compared to God's Beast mode. Deciding to grab the big light panel he knocked down earlier, he hurls it at the blue-haired dude, and surprise, it looks like he get him square in the chest. But wait, the young man holds the massive structure with just one hand, leaving San totally shook. Kaido's mind is blown. This is what first-class power looks like. He admits he was way off thinking he knew what that strength was about, because this level of power never even crossed his mind. After brushing off his clothes, Tino asks how long the boy plans to keep his abilities under wraps. Playing dumb, the protagonist asks what he means. Suddenly, Tino pops up next to him and says he took down a 4th-class monster, which is impossible without some serious power. Determined to make his point, the purifier kicks our boy in the back. And this time, he hits the ground hard. Tino warns that if he doesn't spill his secrets, he'll have to report him to the association. Desperate, the protagonist says he can't share too much. Tino raises an eyebrow and asks why he even wanted to be a purifier. Then hurt, our boy explains he's doing it all to save his sister, who's infected. Tino gets that it's all about a miasma stone, but says that's not a solid reason. Kyo insists he'll do whatever it takes for his sister, even if it means risking his life. The Girovo's quiet for a moment, then tosses his sword right at the protagonist. Kaido dodges just in time, barely escaping. Picking up his big sword, the blue-haired guy says he feels bad for the kid, but he's got responsibilities as a first-class purifier. Confused, Kaido wonders what Tino is up to, but San senses danger and tells him about. Our boy jumps back just as a massive explosion of blue lightning zaps toward him, leaving him totally freaked out, thinking there's no way to escape this. But somehow he does, and when he lands, he mutters that Tano's strength is just ridiculous. Scanning still, the hero says he knows Kaido's hiding something and he'll risk it all to find out what it is. Even if Seiki seems like the kind of dude who could go bad real quick. After another hit, rocks go flying everywhere, and Tina declares he needs to get rid of a dangerous guy like Kaido, no matter what. On the ground, our boy is about to take a fatal hit while the hero says not to take it personally. Suddenly, a huge red explosion goes off, catching the hero totally off guard. His watch starts beeping like crazy, and after the shock wears off, he says he knew the protagonist would show his true self, seeing him wield a massive scythe with his arm glowing red. We flash back to the past, where Tano and an officer are watching Kaido's epic takedown of God. Intrigued, the hero asks who else saw that. The officer says just him, and that's when Tino insists they need to capture the boy. Worried, the officer nods and promises to keep it all under wraps. While the purifier stares into the protagonist's eyes through the screen, in the present, Tino says as he thought, Seiki has a totally different power, and he can't figure out how that's even possible, let alone why he's sensing pollution in him. They're surrounded by a red mist and not getting the answers he wants. Tino decides to toss our boy back, then gets straight to the point, asking if he's a transporter. Shouting, the protagonist says no way. Tino then asks if he's got any ties to the operator. Seiki chooses to stay silent. Preparing to attack again, the hero says he'll take that as a yes, then activates his sword jet, charging full force at the protagonist, who digs in his heels. A dark look crosses the hero's face, but our boy doesn't back down and swings back, forcing Tanner to retreat to dodge the scythe. Worried, the protagonist thinks this guy is faster than someone with a dagger. A little further away, The other competitors are watching the chaos unfold, wondering what's going on as they see explosions everywhere. Psyche nails his attack, and the excited hero says he's really good at fighting, but he's wasting a precious power. Chilling there, our boy is sweating bullets, wondering if he should just bolt. But the problem is he has no clue where to run. Tino steps up and says if he's thinking about running, he might as well just throw in the towel and stop dreaming he can escape from someone like him. This hits our boy hard, making him even more freaked out. Screaming, he insists he's not an enemy. Tino then asks if he's on the same side as the association and why he didn't spill that tea earlier. Looking at his own hand, Kaido thinks if people found out, he could totally use the powers of a bearer. But if that happens, his sister's life is on the line. With tears in his eyes, he swears he won't mess with the association. The hero seems to finally get it, but decides to charge again with full force. Terrified, our boy wonders how Tino can be so fast. Knocking him to the ground, Tino says he knows people like him. Then he drops a theory, since people usually go beyond their limits to protect what matters, which makes them trustworthy. Confused, Kaido asks what that even means. Raising his sword, the hero says his next move will definitely take our boy down. And if he wants his sister to have a future, he's got to fight with everything he's got. The protagonist just stands there while Sand says that's interesting, referring to the fact that Tino has no wings but can fly with his own weapon. Taking action, our boy grabs the creature's attention and gives the permission it's been craving. Even hyped, the red-haired girl asks if he really knows what that means. Kaido questions if it's true that doing that will shorten his life. And without waiting for an answer, he says it's better to die than to let Mio down. Smiling, Sand says he gets it and that in that case, the host wish is in order. After getting bitten, Sei tries to tough it out against the pain, while Tino preps to land with full force, but suddenly the pollution level starts to spike. Looking up, Sand says that was delightful. Even so, the hero keeps descending, ready to unleash his holy justice shining meteor attack. Kaido's body starts transforming, making the pollution index skyrocket. Surrounded by a blinding light, the hero approaches, and we see the protagonist's scythe has tripled in size. Both start screaming before they collide. Then boom, a massive explosion goes off. Tino and Kaido don't break eye contact for even a second. The protagonist struggles to keep his legs steady. Meanwhile, the hero closes his eyes and says, "This is a shame." Even so, our boy doesn't let go of his scythe until it shatters into pieces and gets thrown back, emerging from smoke. Tino shows he's totally unscathed, unlike Seiki, who looks like he's in serious pain. Holding what's left of the great scythe, determined to end this, the hero raises his massive sword. But the protagonist decides to seize the moment and attack, forcing the blue-haired boy to activate his shield to defend himself and avoid getting hit by our boy's strike, which is so strong it shatters the hero's shield into pieces. Not letting go of his sword, Tino says, "That's enough," leaving Kaido a bit confused. With his free hand, the hero delivers a massive punch to the young man who screams in pain. As all of Sand's power drains from his body, holding the proto in his arms, Hino says Seiki should be proud for he's definitely a man of trust. Sometime later, we see C still out cold. Suddenly, he wakes up and catches the hero's attention, who's chilling on a bench right in front of him, smiling. Tino says the young man doesn't mean to panic, for if he wanted to ditch him, he would have done it ages ago. Even scared, our boy thinks the young man is right. The hero then says the proto shouldn't even think about running since they're in a helicopter heading to Tokyo. More specifically, to the headquarters of the Special Purifiers Association. In a panic, our boy asks if Tino is trying to off him or if he's going to hand him over to the headquarters, shouting. The hero says he never mentioned anything about handing him over, revealing then that actually Seiki was summoned by the association. Tino takes the chance to ask if the young man knows he messed up during the test. Disagreeing, our boy says he only did that because of him. Switching gears, the hero says he wants to know about the hospital incident and that he can spill anything, that he doesn't want to spill the tea at HQ. Cater's all worried, but says he gets it. Tina jumps in saying the girl caught on camera was the host and that the powers the young dude has come from being her host. Our boy admits he's kind of clueless about all this stuff. Sam pops up and says she wouldn't want a hero to know about her. Confused, the blue guard dude asks where the pro is looking and if he can show the host. Grinning, the red-haired girl says nah, because she thinks they wouldn't vibe too well. Staring at the hero, Seiki says she's got a point, claiming that since the young man's super handsome, Sam's a bit shy. The host asks if his translator gig is broken and Tino hand on chin says not much can be done then. Our boy's stressing about heading to HQ, but the hero says chill. No need to freak out. You got a plan locked and loaded. A bit later, the duel rolls up to the association's building. Stepping out of the elevator, UC tells the proto to keep the transporter's existence on the down low, especially her weird obsession with him. They stroll into a room, and the hero knocks before entering. After getting the green light, he opens the door and introduces himself, saying a new transporter's popped up in the city from Kago, and he's here to drop the investigation report. Everyone at the table starts eyeballing Siki, who quickly realizes he's face-to-face with the president of the Purifiers Association, Kazuki, thinking he says the dude looks way tougher in person than on TV. With a face like he just ate a lemon, the man thanks the hero for his work and says everyone should pay attention to the report. Tino then says he confronted the new host on site and that the 6th-class Purifier Psyche had his back. Super nervous, the pro introduces himself, practically shouting, saying, "It's a pleasure to meet everyone." Kazuki asks what he means by 6th class, while other guys ask if the young man's the one who took the special exam. Not caring, Kaido kicks off the explanation, saying one of the new carrier's traits is that the people they attack go wild and spread a secondary infection. Claiming he showed this to everyone firsthand using what he learned from Tia about the Convergent situation. The Prow says the explosion happened because the medical oxygen tank blew up. The fact he reported to both the new host and the person infected by the Berserk. Shocked, the suited men say if this is true, it's a massive threat. Another guy chimes in saying it's worse than that since the infected can now spread it to others. With arms crossed, Kazuki says he needs to see the results, but first wants to know if Tino is saying that Siki attracted other hosts and took them all down at once, because if that's the case, the credit goes to the young man, claiming he knows there's something to do isn't spilling. Kaido tries to calm the nerves and stick to the plan, saying that actually the transporter got him good. Frightened, two men ask if he's infected or immune. Our boy says he didn't think he was immune. Tino then says everyone should check out the skill measurement test they did that day to see the data for themselves. With jaws dropped, one of the men says this is a record. While the president of the association stays quiet, analyzing the graphs, the hero says if he had to guess, he'd say this is the effect of coming into contact with a new strain of virus D, which isn't too different from the special immunity ability. At least not for him. Grinning, one of the members says, if this is true, it'll open new doors for humanity, making everyone present hyped. Thinking, Kaido says everything went down exactly as Tano said it would. We flash back to when they were in the helicopter, and the hero said if he wanted to pull a fast one, he'd need to mix a bit of truth with the lie. After all, it'd be a waste to take him out. After a few more explanations, the pro asks why the Purifier wants to help him if it'd be easier just to snitch to the association. Standing up, the hero tells the young man not to take it the wrong way and then asserts that he's not an ally of the association, but of justice, which means he decides for himself what to do. Hearing this makes our boy think of Mayo. Sitting down again, Tino says he's doing this because it's the right thing to do. So, he'll do whatever it takes to help the young man as long as he doesn't cross any lines, even though he's super shocked. Kajito just lowers his head to thank him, but the hero says it's way too early for that. Not realizing the young dude in front of him is just hiding his tears. We snap back to the present where the hero says he thinks Siki's skills have leveled up. And honestly, it's pretty impressive because depending on how you look at it, his bond with the bearer makes him a big deal. So, it's time to assess the situation when suddenly Nagato, a top-tier purifier, jumps in, saying everyone's ignoring a way bigger problem, leaving the Prona even more freaked out. With her powers on, she asks if they're really just going to trust that story, then points out that everyone seems to have forgotten how many people suffer because of it. And being friends with an operator is just a nightmare to think about. So she thinks Seiki should be taken out like right now. Tino argues that doing that won't fix anything and that the young man is also a victim, sparking a huge debate. Suddenly, Kazuki says that's enough. After all, first-class purifiers shouldn't be fighting each other. The hero steps up and says he has a suggestion and that Magato's words make sense since it's impossible to know when the virus will make the young man go wild. So, we'll keep an eye on Kaido and make sure he's safe. The president thinks it's not a bad idea. With his jaw dropped, the Prow thinks Tino is seriously amazing for using Nagato's argument to take charge. But then, killing the vibe, the blonde purifier says she has an issue because the blue-geared hero was way too close to the young man and might not make the right call in an emergency. Kazuki tells her to get to the point. Nagato then says she'll be the one to keep an eye on Kaido. Sometime after the chaotic meeting, Tino apologizes to saying, "You didn't see that coming." The Proto says it's cool and asks what kind of person Nagato is. Then the hero says if he had to sum her up in one sentence, he'd say she's the one who's going to wipe out all bearers. Hearing this makes our boy more nervous than ever, who after a bit is following the purifier. Nato says her team's responsibility is just Tokyo, and in a few days they'll come up with a plan in which Kaido will be involved. Not having much to do, the pro says he gets it, while thinking he needs to chat with Mayo soon. Surprising him, the purifier apologizes for being rude during the meeting and says she actually has nothing against him. Smiling, Siki says he's glad to hear that, but the woman says making friends with transporters is pointless and kind of funny, so she's not looking to be friends with him. S says that's cool, because she's not into it either. Walking again, Nagato says the troops have gathered for a meeting, which is the perfect time for him to meet the team. Nervous, the proto wonders what kind of people are on the woman's squad. Entering the room, the purifier apologizes for keeping everyone waiting, causing the other purifiers to turn their heads immediately. Yaji, a third-class purifier, asks who the boy with Nagato is. Quickly, the woman introduces Seiki and says he'll be with him for a bit. Shocked, Nazem asks how there can be people below the 5th class. While Sua says he's heard of the boy who can't use special immunity. Mocking, Hattori asks why a useless person like that is on the team. Irritated, S tells Kaido that it's time to kill, making the Pro-Toa let out a not-so-loud no, leaving the situation even more awkward. Everyone goes silent until Nagato says it was Alino's idea, but she asked to keep an eye on the boy. Hearing this only shocks the team more. Without giving more details, the woman says Siki will go with them on the next mission. So, everyone should take the chance to get to know him better. In a flash, the team rushes toward the prow, bombarding him with a million questions, some even super personal. Freaked out, our boy says he doesn't have anything with Nagato and doesn't even know her well. Suddenly, Yaji says that just for saying that, he's already lost 10% of his life because everyone should know how amazing, smart, cool, and beautiful Captain Nagato is. Hearing this makes Kaido smile, and Natsume says he became a purifier because of her who saved his life once. Hattori chimes in saying, the boy has told that story a million times, and he shoots back that it's better than just calling the captain beautiful. Suma jumps into the convo, saying Nagato's charm is all about her brains, while the pink-haired girl laughs, saying they're all just a bunch of dummies. Picking up her phone, she says she'll show Kaido the secret video of the captain with a kitten, making everyone melt from cuteness overload. Suddenly, something slams into the phone hard, embedding in the wall right next to the prow. Turns out it was Megadu who threw a sword, dying of embarrassment. She says the device has just been confiscated. Quickly, everyone starts apologizing like they just spilled soda on a new game. Toriomi, the second-ass purifier and vice captain, shows up and says, at this rate, everyone will be left behind. Then he declares, it's time to roll out. Sometime later, we see the team trekking through the forest up front. Nagato says the pollution factor in that area is about 5,000, which is a chill number. Also revealing that another team has been dispatched, but they're all good. Suma says whatever they're hunting is super sneaky since there don't seem to be any other operators around. Thinking hard, Hattori says it's the first time he's seen such a behavior pattern and got bad feeling. Siki takes the chance to introduce himself to the vice captain since he didn't get to before. The man introduces himself back all hyped, and the proto says he doesn't know how much he can help, but he's ready to learn. But to his surprise, the purifier says he only works for the paycheck, so the boy shouldn't expect much from him. Then he adds he'll take out anyone who gets in his way. Freaked out, Kaido wonders why everyone here is so weird. Natsume asks how they'll do the subjugation if the monster doesn't show up. But proving it's not that simple, a horned beast pops out from the trees, ready to make him lunch. Suma says, apparently, the problem is solved. Shooting arrows in quick succession that fly toward the massive creature and hit it squarely in the arm with strawberry juice pouring from its mouth. The monster just collapses on the ground. Suddenly, another beast appears behind the team. Turning around, Hattori mocks the monster's attempt to attack, while the glasses-wearing purifier keeps shooting. The blue-haired boy then says that was his prey. But Suma says the fastest wins. Even injured, the beast charges at the purifiers, who apparently are pretty fearless. The green-haired guy says the enemy is tougher than he thought. Proving him right, the monster on the ground grabs the boy's leg, making him scream in despair. Seeing the situation, Yaji gets worried and shouts to warn her friend that the other beast is about to crush him. The boy looks up, but seems to be too late. We can see that chaos has erupted in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, Kaido appears and says he'll borrow Natsume's shoulder. Gaining momentum, the proto jumps into the air and prepares to strike the horned creature. Using only his 2 fists, a burst of red light happens with the impact, and everyone wonders how that could be possible. Our boy quickly realizes that now is the one in trouble. Since 2 creatures are eyeing him with their sharp teeth, the hell monkey roars, causing Sand to smile. The prona quickly takes care of his part of the job and grabbing one of the feet of one of the monsters, decides to throw it against the others who fly away when hit squarely. Hattori and Suma are wide-eyed. Then they decide to take advantage of the situation and attack as well, thus ending all the threats. Smiling, Kaido says they are indeed amazing as expected. Irritated and confused, Natsun wonders why the guy is so strong, just like Suma, who wonders how that's possible if Seiki has no special immunity. Also thinking, Yaji questions if the young man could be stronger than Captain Nagato, while Hattori says he thought he was just a small rat. A little further away, Tori only tells the captain that Kaido moves well, then asserting that the monster doesn't seem to be a new model of carrier, which means there are more of them hiding around. Floating, the Proto tries to understand what is happening. Seeing other monsters surrounding the team, S appears and says it's because he is there. Even knowing they are old models of carrier, our boy thinks to himself that he has a bad feeling about this situation. We see that Siki's hunch is right, as a terrifying creature seems to be hiding underground. The team stays positioned, waiting for the attack. Without hesitation, the monsters decide it's time and charge. However, a blow lands on one of the horn monkeys delivered by our dude, who totally pushes the creature away. Natsum asks if this guy is really just a 6th grader. Hattori says it's obvious the kid's on the same level as Nagato, maybe even stronger. Even though he thought the same thing a few minutes ago, Yaja tells him to chill instead of talking nonsense. Suddenly, something catches the girl's eye, and looking up, she realizes there are 5 beasts about to drop on her and her teammate. But lucky for both, someone stops the creatures, which get ripped to shreds. After saving almost everyone, Nagato says they're in enemy territory and need to stay sharp. Shocked, the par thinks about how he didn't even see the woman attacking. Stuck, the blonde purifier says that for sure the captain is the strongest. A few minutes later, Hattori says they've already taken out 20 enemies, but the pink-haired girl disagrees, saying the numbers don't add up since the contamination count is around 5,000, but the enemies only had 100 pollution. Kaido decides to ask what Ant thinks. She says the purifier is right and that there's something strong lurking. Watching in the shadows, worried, the Proto wonders if it's just one. Remembering when he found out the highest recorded contamination level was 1,800. The red-haired girl then says that hidden might not be the right word, referring to the ground beneath Yaji's feet cracking. Activating his power, our dude manages to save the purifier at the last second. While trying to figure out what kind of monster just popped out of the ground, smiling, San says he warned them, and that from the start, Kaido knew. Suddenly, the creature, which looks like a carnivorous plant, grabs Suma, who starts to get swallowed until the monster completely closes its mouth. Stoked, the young redhead says that was epic, and that maybe the creature is one of those that melts his prey for better flavor. Screaming, Siki tells her to stop laughing. The other team members charge at the enemy, furious for losing one of their own. With his brass knuckles, Natsum starts throwing punches while Hattori attacks with his sword. The problem is, it seems none of the guys are having much luck, as a red gas starts leaking from the monster that opens its mouth again to continue its meal. Even the oldest purifier in the group is in shock. Seeing Mado go into battle, he says this is a new type of enemy and asks her to come back. However, the purifier doesn't listen and with her sword delivers a blow that slices through several parts of the huge, monstrous plant. With his mouth gap, Kaido asks how the damage wasn't nullified. San says that actually it was, but the glow around the weapon is so dense that the nullification process can't keep up. The vice captain and the captain watch the dust settle until the man decides to attack the monster's main body, which is underground. With his axe, he delivers an insane blow, causing a huge roar that echoes through the forest. From the ground, what seems to be a purple mist starts to rise, revealing next the hole from which red eyes appear. Siki says that for sure the purifier was right, while the creature makes some weird noises. Suddenly, a plant tentacle lunges at the prow who runs away to save himself and Yaji, who is still in his arms. Determined, the monster decides to try again, forcing our dude to ditch the purifier and head into confrontation. With both hands, he grabs the tentacle and starts pulling the creature with all his strength, hoping to drag it out of its lair. Surprisingly, Kaido's plan works as a huge cloud of dust kicks up. Still smiling, Tia says this is probably the first time that thing has come to the surface, stating next that they're facing a mid-level transporter. With his mouth agape, Yaji checks the contamination level and is even more shocked when he sees the number 3070 on the screen of the device on his wrist. Screaming, Natsum asks how that thing has a contamination level over 3000. Thinking, Kaido wonders what he should do and if it would be smart to use his power. Suddenly, Atori shouts to Nagato, reminding her of Suma. Without a second thought, the purifier gets ready to attack. Explaining, San says the biggest difference between low-level and mid-level operators also lies in strength, obviously. Nagato leaps into the air and prepares to strike. But when she gets close enough, she comes face to face with Suma, who is not having the best day. Seeing a teammate in that state makes the woman freeze. Tia then says that beyond strength, mid-level operators are also smart. Seeing that Nagato missed for strike, Tori only calls her an idiot, but still jumps into the fight to save the captain, who barely dodges a hit. Talk about close calls. The one who takes the worst hit is the vice captain. After getting slammed against a tree, he's out cold. Nagato and the crew start to freak out, but then bam, the creature goes after the purifier again. She tries to defend herself with her sword. Crying, Suma begs for help, totally distracting the blonde woman. Furious, Hattori decides it's time to make the enemy pay and swings both of his swords like a total boss. The creature, using the body of the swallowed purifier, whips around. It definitely saw who attacked it. The blue-haired guy gets hit hard by one of the creature's arms and starts spitting strawberry juice everywhere, leaving Mansur and Nagato in full-on panic mode. Running to his friend, the blonde boy asks if he's okay. But Otto Iri starts making these weird noises, which freaks out the purifier a bit. Suddenly, the young blue-haired dude, now infected, bites Natsu's shoulder, spreading the virus faster than a TikTok trend. Turning around, Hattori aims at Yaji, who with wide eyes is all, "This can't be happening." Then he asks for the shaky voice what's wrong with her friends. Screaming, Kaido tells the young woman not to come any closer, but he gets wrecked by one of the creature's tentacles, leaving him badly injured. Nagato keeps defending herself as best she can, while Suma, looking terrified, says it hurts again, begging the purifier to help him. Suddenly, the infected team members pop up behind her, and she quickly realizes they're now monsters. Once her innocent friends now total nightmares, the scene breaks Nagato's heart, leaving her speechless. Closing her eyes, the purifier tries to hold back her tears. Suddenly, a loud crash happens, and we see Kaido is more than fine and ready to save the day. Glaring at the monster, the protagonist says it's him it wants to eat, so he's going to be the perfect opponent. Using S's power, our boy throws the zombie team members away, then asks if Nagato can move. Without answering, shaking like a leaf, the purifier shows she can't. Siki thinks this is not good and politely picks her up. Running, he reaches the spot where Toriyomi is and places Megadu on the ground. Heading back to the battle, he tells her to tend to the vice captain's wounds. Intrigued, the purifier notices something different about the boy. Looking at his contamination device, she figures he's under the carrier's influence. Running at high speed, the protagonist asks how she's still fine after being bitten. Smiling on, says that the virus of a weakling is no problem. The trio of zombies approaches Kaido, and Natsu is the first to try to attack him. Our boy manages to dodge the blow like a pro and takes advantage of the moment to counterattack. Without hesitation, the other two zombie purifiers charge at him, forcing him to use his scythe to throw them away. Santa asks if Siki isn't going to take it easy on the young ones. Irritated, he says it's easy for her to say that. Suddenly, the carnivore plants show up again. Our boy decides to unleash his spinning sight move and without losing the determined look, sends plant pieces flying everywhere. But instead of cuts, new plants start growing, making Kaido realize the monster regenerates, which is just annoying. When attacked again, the protagonist dodges, which makes the boss a bit irritated. Running, our boy says he finds that annoying, too, showing he's ready to end this fight soon. The creature decides to turn its tentacles into drills and launches them all at him, but he's too fast and escapes unscathed. Holding the scythe tight, he shows how it's done and slices off all the tentacles of the monstrous plant. Furious, the monster realizes it won't be easy to shake him off, who keeps getting closer. Transformed, Seiki grabs the tentacles and jumps, leaving a trail of destruction behind. He says he's already used to it. Hearing this makes the creature, still using Suma's face, tremble. Suddenly, Kaido strikes a blow in the enemy's trunk, which starts screaming in pain. Feeling something strange, our boy turns around, but it's too late as Natsu attacks him from behind, giving the creature time to recover. With no choice, Siki exchanges blows with the zombie boy until he finally manages to take him down for good. Yaji and Hattori also decide to jump in, forcing the protagonist to do something he really doesn't want to do. After dealing with the purifiers, he decides to bounce and dip. And guess what? He didn't take anyone out, just snagged them. Grinning, S says that even when she's not in her body, she's still pretty clutch, and that he can slap on a bunch of those handcuffs at once. Then he asks why Siki is snatching up the kiddos, even though he knows there's no going back once someone turns into a feeder. Mad as heck, our dude says he gets it, and chimes in saying he's not making much sense, and that sooner or later the worst is coming. Yelling, the main character insists again that he knows that. Shrugging, the red-haired girl says it doesn't seem that way, and that human feelings are super confusing. Try and stay on task. Kidu charges at the target, which all banged up, is still standing tall. We see that the creature is vibing hard, rocking a creepy smile. It wicks out its tentacles again, but not our hero. Instead, going for Hattori and Natsum, who get hit hard. Then the dew of it's yanked closer by the monster. Confused, the protagonist wonders why it saved the feeders. Knowing what's about to go down, Ant says that actually that's just a way to whip up a meal. Cackling, the creature sucks all the energy it can from the captured purifiers. Still lost? Our dude asks what the young woman is on about since feeders usually roll with transporters. S says it's not even close to that, then explains that bears attack humans to chill their virus. But since low-tier bears are total dummies, they just jump straight to the munching part, which is pointless since the virus can only multiply inside living cells. Getting it now? Kaido asks if that means folks like Feeder or Mio who got infected without letting him finish, and says that for a transporter, those peeps are meals packed with virus and super nutritious, especially the feeders who attack other humans and make more feeders, making the food multiply on its own. Annoyed Kaido tells the young woman to quit with the jokes. Not even phase. Sand says this is just a way to boost food production, something humans do too. Fuming, the protagonist tells her to zip it. Meanwhile, Nagato is chilling next to Torami. Heartbroken and crying, the purifier looks at Siki, who's totally lost on how to react. But the creature decides it's time to strike again, causing new tentacles to pop up now that it's well fed. Happy with the feast, it lets out a sinister laugh. Determined to crash the party, Siki charges ahead, and again, he dodges all the hits while slicing and dicing without a break. Even though it's kind of pointless since the monster's healing is on another level. Worried, he tries to scope out the situation a bit, realizing he can't handle everything with just that weapon. One of the monster's heads pops up from the ground and almost snacks the prow, who flips out of the way. The monster finds that hilarious and sends another wave of tentacles to snag the boy midair. Suddenly, a massive explosion goes off, and we see C totally out of breath, surrounded by tentacles that have been sliced by his two giant swords since he finally ditched the scythe. With his eyes glowing red, he tells the enemy it shouldn't think it can chow down on him so easily, showing he's also tough when it counts. The monster wraps around Seiki again, who's got a serious look on his face as he feels the tentacles closing in. At just the right moment, the Proto raises his two swords. Leon, the monster, stunned by such power. Even so, the creature decides it won't back down. Our boy starts running and slicing without stopping. Show he won't give up on getting where he needs to protect himself. The Hell Plant puts two tentacles in front of its face, but both get sliced by Kaido, who kicks what's left. We see that the Proto is almost there. But suddenly, the creature grabs his swords, forcing him to drop them. To the monster's shock, the swords just vanish and reappear in our boy's hand, who without a second thought strikes with both. Suma's face starts to change as the creature screams. Siki backs off as plant bits fly everywhere. He lands on the ground to check out the damage he's done. Suddenly, a weird face pops up where the purifier's face used to be when our boy finds that super boring since the fight feels never-ending. Frenzied, the creature spots Yaji, Nagato, and Torami and gives a terrifying grin before launching its tentacles at the duo. Turning around, Kaido quickly figures out what's about to go down and leaps from where he is to stand in front. Because of this move, he gets hit hard in the back to the point of losing a bit of balance. The monster charges at the pink-haired girl with a shout. The Proto throws his two swords, vowing to protect her, and keeping his word, slices off one of the monster's tentacles, which gives him a solid sense of relief. But then another part of that creepy hell plant pops up from the ground. Now he's left with just his hands to defend himself. And with a brutal impact, Kaido gets sent flying. While the tentacle he just cut grows back, the monster flexes its power like it's in a gym competition. Our boy grumbles that this regeneration thing is super annoying, and TE is all, "Are you dumb or what?" She points out he's got enough energy for a final blow, but he's stuck babysitting the girl who's basically dead weight. Fuming, the Proto tells his pet creature to zip it. Then he's all curious about this plant monster, asking if it really absorbs nutrients from the soil, but Tia is like, "Nah, bears don't do that. This monster's got miasma stones all over it, which makes regenerating way too easy." Not knowing what to do, the Prow asks how they could take it down. Suggests either smashing everything at once or just keep slicing until it runs out of juice. But he's like, "Dude, that's too much for someone like you. You're not ready to fight a mid-class bear, so it's better for the boy to ditch the dead weight and bounce." Realizing Kaido's not about to bail, the red-haired girl asks if he's ready to fight to the death. Our boy's all, "I'm not planning to die." But Tia is like, "That's exactly what's going to happen if you keep this up." Then Siki chimes in saying, "There's another way, and sans all of you talking about her eating you again?" With a determined look, the Pro is like, "Yep, that's the plan." Worried Sans, not having it, but the boy insists he'll do anything to save his sister. Even teaming up with a transporter and taking out someone who used to be human, but ditching his crew. No way. Tia then says her master never listens, and she'll do what he wants. But since she's annoyed, she'll make it hurt a bit more and take a little extra. When she bites down, Siki starts screaming, frozen. The monster is trying to figure out what's going on, while the prow keeps yelling as his body transforms. The scene freaks out the carnivorous creature, grinning. Tia tells him to crush that weak monster once and for all, and now Kaido's got horns. With a superhuman leap, our boy charges at the target. With his mouth hanging open, Nagato finally spots Tia, while the Proto powers up and keeps charging. Once he's close enough, he unleashes a flurry of blows that make the enemy scream in pain and despair. A massive explosion goes off, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. With the job done, the Proto can't wait to see what happened and realizes the monster is totally chickened out and is trying to retreat. Chasing after it, he shouts that it won't escape, attacking fast underground. One of his strikes hits the monster's weak spot, causing it to lose its head. Tia smiles, relieved that it's finally over. The monster tries to regenerate, but its ability seems to have hit its limit. Grinning, the red-haired girl says it's useless. The middle class has no shot against his superior class. Sticky walks over to where the monster's trapped and reaches out to grab what he needs, which are the miasma stones all connected at one point. Excited, Tia asks if the Proto can feel the stones now. Using its dirty trick again, the creature starts using Suma's face to beg for help while pleading for forgiveness. The scene makes the Proto hesitate, but Tia is quick to remind him that the monster is just mimicking the human it absorbed and that the purifier is long gone. Hearing this makes Siki grit his teeth, but he finds the courage he needs and plunges his hand into the monster's body, which starts screaming again. When our boy grabs what kept his enemy alive, it just disappears like magic. Holding the stone, the Proto shakes, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Tia pops up and asks if he realizes he's becoming more like a carrier. Thinking, Saki studies the light blue miasma stone in his hand, but suddenly his vision goes all wonky and he starts losing his balance until he drops to his knees with Nagato right in front of him, remembering everything he saw the boy do. Even though now he seems normal again. Toriyama yells for the purifier, snapping him out of his thoughts. The vice captain says Yaji's about to break free and needs help tying up the girl. Turning around, the captain jumps in, saying she's got his back. Suddenly, Kaido's body starts acting all weird, transforming into a monstrous version of himself. He charges at Nagato, who's just standing there totally confused. Then boom, a massive explosion in shades of red goes off. All thanks to our boy who just landed a sick hit. Seeing the purifier slip away, Tia is like, I thought I had this. Noticing the boy's voice sounds off, the blonde asks if he's still sexy. But the young red-haired girl chimes in saying her host was tired, so she took over for a bit. With a shaky voice, Nagato asks if that means he's a carrier. Grinning wickedly, Kia says, yep, got a problem with that. Hearing Miss the Purifier is fuming, but the red-haired creature doesn't care, saying she can't ignore the woman, who, unlike Tino, has eyes full of hate for the bearers. Perched on a branch, the Purifier asks what Tia is planning since she's a parasite in Kaido. Offended, San says she prefers to call it coexistence since it helps the boy and gives him power. Receiving a bit of food in return, the heroine's like, this is impossible. But the bear is all, I don't care what you think. And gearing up to attack, she says letting her live would be a problem. So even if she's not at full power, she's ready to take her out. Showing off her strength, Tia causes an explosion around her. Trying to shield himself, Magato's like, this is a joke, and asks the vice captain to handle Yaji. Suddenly, the pollution level checker on the purifier's wrist starts beeping. Hitting a crazy 5844 squinting, Nagato says he can't ignore that. Descending from the branch, he declares it's his duty as a purifier. So, he's kind of relieved the bearer showed herself since it'll make purifying her way easier. An intense exchange of blows kicks off with Tia blocking everything even without being at full power. Kaido wakes up realizing he's just a spectator in his own body. Curious, he wonders who Nagato is fighting. Quickly figuring out it's against him, Tia pops up and asks if he's awake. Once she sees he is, she strolls over and says she's borrowing his body. The prow asks why. The young woman explains she thought about taking out the purifier since she came to him with plans to kill him. And since the boy wouldn't do what's needed, she decided to handle it. So he should just chill. Unable to move, Siki screams for the bearer to stop, but all he gets is a smile in return. Outside, Nagato keeps throwing punches. Tia then says, for someone who was crying a minute ago, you're fighting pretty well. Charging forward, the purifier says she doesn't need compliments from Transporter. With just one hand, the red-haired girl stops the woman's sword, then asks if she really thinks that was a compliment. After blocking the attack, the bearer decides to counterattack, but Nagato's too quick and dodges. While trying to kick her, Tia also manages to dodge at the same time, snatching the sword from the purifier, but Inato grabs her weapon back in midair and takes the chance to land some hits glowing yellow in the process. Smirking, Tia says the woman's not very good and returns to attack with all her might. The purifier dodges and strikes the bearer from behind, causing a huge explosion. But wide-eyed, she realizes that once again the creature defended herself. Finding it hilarious, Tia says she made things a bit tougher, leaving the captain and vice captain stunned by her power. Showing off her skills, the red-haired girl lifts Nagato into the air and says she's about to hit a bit harder now. With not much to do, the purifier crosses her arms in front of her body before getting hit by a super powerful attack, sending her flying and crashing down on her knees, leaving Torma worried. We see a necklace drop from the purifier's neck, and it opens when it hits the ground, revealing a photo of her as a kid on her dad's back. Looking at the photo shatters the purifier's heart, just like it breaks Seiki's heart, who starts remembering when he was little and said he wanted to be just like his dad when he grew up. Even as just a reporter, the man says hearing that from his own son makes him super proud as a father. We're thrown back to that wild day when Monster crashed the boy's family party, forcing his dad to throw down and protect him and Mio no matter what. Holding his sister tight, Seiki screams for the man, but he just grins and says he's counting on him, before taking a dive off the high road with the monster, and yeah, he doesn't make it. Leaving Kaido in total heartbreak, we zoom back to Nagato, who's still looking all sad and stuff. Suddenly, one of the bearer's arms slams into the tree next to her, wrapping around the purifier like it's a game of tag. Our boy tries to take charge and tells Tia to chill out. Smirking, the bearer acts all impressed and says the woman is just in the way since just like he protected Mio, he could also clear out any other obstacle. Seiki jumps in saying Nagato isn't like the beast he took down before. The bearer nods, saying she gets it. He thinks she's still human and starts to remember when the boy said a bearer will always be a bearer. Tia claims the proto is on the side of bearers now, but our boy insists he's still human. Hearing that, the young redhead makes Kaido feel something weird in his head. Turning, he warns her that if she takes out the purifier, she'll never be able to be forgiven. Suddenly, Tia decides to let the proto go. Falls right into Nagato's arms. Facing the purifier, the bearer says just so she knows, even if the woman takes Kaido out, she won't disappear. She's way stronger without the rules. And since Seiki totally saved everyone's lives, she wants to believe humans aren't shady enough to repay kindness with betrayal. Tina starts staring at Yaji, who's still in zombie mode. And without a second thought, she goes for the girl, leaving the purifier. Shocked, she explains she injected a bit of her virus into the young woman, which will keep her quiet for a few days. And since everything's all good now, she's heading back to her spot. Nagato is left solo again, still holding Seiki, then remembers her team, which got totally wrecked. Out of nowhere, Toriomi comes sprinting towards the woman, while Kaido snoozes on her shoulder. After a bit, he wakes up in a bed and asks where he is. Beside him, Megadu asks if the prow has finally woken up, surprising him. Answering her, she says they're in her apartment. Even a bit freaked out, our boy says he gets it. Looking ahead, he sees the vice captain and Tino, who are also just staring at him. The hero then says the guy slept the whole day and asks how he's feeling. Our boy says he's good and asks what the association knows. Tino tells him not to sweat it, because only the people in that room know his secret. Torai only apologizes for bugging him, but he spent the whole night cleaning up the mess, which left him wiped out, so they should kick off the interrogation. Kaido explains she was a medium-level bearer, but there are others who are way stronger like Tia. Nagato then asks why he teamed up with the creature. Tino tells the woman to watch her words, and feeling close enough to the prow steps forward and says Kaido worked with a bear named Malaysia to save his own sister, so the purifier shouldn't act like he's a traitor. Embarrassed, Nagato says that wasn't her vibe. Terenami tells both to chill, affirming it's time for Seiki to introduce Malaysia to them. The protagonist calls for the creature, who pops up quick, sitting on the bed next to the boy, making Magato all nervous. Smiling, she says the purifier doesn't need to be so tense after all. They agreed not to hold grudges. The vice captain agrees and tells the woman that the deal was to act without violence. With nothing else to do, the captain apologizes. The oldest in the group then thanks Tia, because thanks to her, they could move Yaji. Worried, Kaido asks what's going to happen to the young girl. Explaining, the vice captain says the girl is in quarantine at the medical center of the Adaki branch. But officially, they reported that Yaji died in the line of duty, since if they found out the truth, the purifier would become a research subject, which is totally unnecessary as there are other ways to get answers, like for example, through Malaysia. The purifier then says she has no clue how to heal someone turned into a feeder, and that if Yaja keeps getting her virus, she'll be contained, but will kick the bucket in a month. Nagato then says that's the same that could happen to Kaido. But the bearer says the boy is her host, and because of that she'll keep him alive no matter what. Hearing this makes the captain sweat. Tino says he'd like to know more about this, asking next what the transporter's goal is and what they really want. Malaysia says the reason is pretty obvious, but suddenly a bad vibe hits her, making her eyes go wide. Seiki asks what's up with a serious look. Tia says that apparently a Heil bearer just rolled in. Elsewhere, we see a creature wondering why Malaysia hasn't dropped any updates. Drooling, the bearer then says he's starving. Quickly spotting some humans strolling down the street, he crosses his arms, wondering how many of them he can chow down on. Turns out the heroes are about to face Krankite, a Class 4 Heil bearer. The protagonist, along with a red-haired girl, warns the crew that a major transporter just showed up. This leaves the rest of the group a bit shook. Intrigued, the oldest in the group says the detector didn't pick up anything. The girl with the red eyes then says the problem is 10 kilometers away around Shibuya Station, and there's no reaction because the virus is contained. Our boy asks if that's even possible. Making a joke, the girl says yes and explains that the pollution factor in bears kicks in when they're drooling and can't control their hunger. The main operators usually don't let it get that far, opening the system. The blonde bureau says that around Shibuya Station there are reports of a tunnel from another world, and since the teen responsible already went to check, they should roll out too. Worried, the white-haired guy asks how bad it would be if a main transporter breaks through. Without missing a beat, the red-haired girl says that probably in a few days, all of Japan would be lunch. Then she adds that this is not something that can be stopped. Standing up, the man says he should at least get a bonus and a special allowance for going to the scene. The protagonist gets up too, but suddenly feels a massive pain in his head. The blonde girl then says that Seiki isn't in top shape, so he should chill and wait. Even though the guy protests, the young woman says it's an order. With no choice, our boy just says he gets it. Before leaving, the older man says he's too valuable and shouldn't jump into the action unless he's 100%. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, we see the problem from another world crashing in. The creature with purple and green hair looks confused while people around wonder how it just fell from the sky. Making its first victim, the guy in a cape touches a girl's shoulder. She feels something weird, but doesn't quite get what just happened. Her boyfriend gets annoyed, but she says it's all good. A reporter rolls up to the monster, asking if it has a sex, claiming she finds its look unique. Without saying a word, the villain puts a finger to the young woman's mouth. She's just as confused while her assistant says they should try chatting with someone else. The monster keeps strolling and touches the face of a dude in a suit who is passing by. Nervous, the guy asks,